Hello, my name is Jesus Puga. We're at my restaurant at MexOut. We're located at 555 Veterans Memorial Lane, right across the Walmart, as many of you guys know.
And where are you from, Jesus?
I'm from Mexico. I'm from San Luis Potosí, Mexico. That's northern Mexico. That's usually, we're about 5 hours away from the border at the most. So.
Okay, let's walk this way. So is it like a fish area? Like fish tacos are big because you know where I grew up and everything. There's a lot of fish tacos, but you've told me it's not like a big fish taco area.
No, it's actually where we're from. San Luis Potosí has two very different areas. One is very green where there's waterfalls, forests, it rains a lot, and then there's the very dry area where we live. It's very, very dry, and the only thing that you get out of there is cactus, so it's kind of like a desertous area.
So, growing up, your mom is kind of the chef of the restaurant.
Yes.
What does she make for you as a kid?
We were really poor, so there was really nothing like fancy to make other than rice and beans and homemade tortillas, because the only thing that was able to grow out there was corn. So we would take the corn on the cob, you let it dry, and then you take the drain out, and then you take it to, it's called a molino, where they ground up the corn. What's it called?
The kernel?
The corn, where you grind up the corn kernel, and then you make like paste out of it. It comes out in a powder form, and then you just add water, and that's how you get the homemade tortillas.
Okay. And then, so you lived in Mexico not very long though, right? You were like what, 8?
I was 9 when I came here, so I lived most of my life in the U.S. now, but you know, most of my childhood, I could say, was down there.
So what did your parents do in Mexico, and then what brought them to the U.S.?
So my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and my dad was a vendor for actually he was a manager for a store, like a grocery store, and then he would go out and sell to businesses, just like here, like your typical business sales.
And then you guys came to Bowling Green, or were you anywhere before Bowling Green?
No, my dad moved here like in '85 into Florida, then he moved to Houston. Then from Houston, we came here in 1994, and then we stayed in Houston for about a month, and my dad decided that it was better to go to Fort Worth, Texas. We stayed there for about another year and a half, and then we decided to move up here to Louisville, and then after Louisville, we came here in '98 to Bowling Green.
And then where did you go to school in Bowling Green?
I went to Bowling Green Junior High and Bowling Green High School.
So you're a purple.
I am a purple.
I have interviewed multiple purples now.
Yeah, purple all the way.
So let me ask you, the brief time in Texas, did you ever get a Tex-Mex influence, or did you guys stay pretty true to where you were from?
Texas is kind of weird. You have like your really, really hardcore Mexican side of town, and that's kind of where we stayed. So I really didn't get influenced by a lot of Tex-Mex. I actually became more familiar with Tex-Mex when I started eating out here Mexican food in Kentucky, because it wasn't anything like we had ever tried or anything like we really typically did down in Mexico. And it was kind of weird because they're called Mexican restaurants, which they're really not Mexican restaurants.
Like chili powder is not a Mexican thing.
Chili powder is not that is right. We don't, in Mexico there's no ground beef. The only thing we use ground beef is for meatballs, and that's about it. So whenever you go out to a regular taco shop or a taco stand, they're either gonna be a very specific taco place. So if it's steak tacos, and it's that shop. They only serve steak tacos. Then you can go and they have Al Pastor, which is the Al Pastor taco shop. And so
Al Pastor is?
It's marinated pork. And so you marinate the pork, and then you put it into a vertical spit, and then you slice the meat off of that, and then you put it on the grill, and then you serve it in a tortilla, and it becomes your taco.
So I had to cut the camera off because you were disparaging Los Angeles cuisine. So
I was.
No, that's fine. Hey, so your parents moved here. What did they do when they first got to Bowling Green?
My dad has always done construction. My mom has always been a stay-at-home mom. When we moved to Bowling Green, got to a stage where everybody was going to school, and so my mom wanted to do something else, and the only thing that she knew how to do was clean and cook. So she started cleaning houses, and that's how we were able to manage while my dad worked.
And then did you go to college?
I did. I went up to Louisville, and then after I turned 18, I really wanted to do something with my life. I didn't want all the sacrifice that my dad made when he decided to come here to have a better future. I didn't want that sacrifice to go in vain. So I decided to go to university and try to better my life and just try to have a better future.
And so you did you go to U of L?
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of people driving in, so we're right here at lunch hour. And before you got to here, what'd you do in between Louisville and leaving the University of Louisville and opening MexOut?
Okay, so it was kind of a shocker because I think a lot of people are recent college graduates are going to find themselves in my situation, where there's so many people that ask you, and they say, hey, you go to school, you're going to have a better future, you're going to have a better life. Well, when I went to college and graduated, I actually happened to graduate in one of the worst times in America, where the whole, what's it called?
The 2008 downturn?
The 2008 downturn. That's exactly. I graduated in December of 2008. So there was no jobs. There wasn't anybody hiring. There wasn't anybody doing anything. And so I actually had to take a job at a bank as a teller. And guys, anybody can get a job as a teller. You don't even have to have a college degree. All you have to have is a high school degree. And just imagine, I was really, really, really down. I got really depressed because everything that they said that was gonna happen, it never happened. You get all this image or this dream in your head that when you graduate, you're gonna have a better life, you're gonna have a better house, better car, a really good paying job. And the reality is that it's none of that. It's the opposite of that, because you have to actually start from the beginning and from the ground up and work your way up to wherever you wanted to be. But in my situation, I think I speak for many of the 2008 college grads, many of us had to go back to other regular jobs that were just hiring because there wasn't any professional jobs. I know what I did is I had to quit the bank in order to make more money and actually do construction. And there for a period of time in my life, I was kind of depressed because I would think about it like this. I would always think, I went to school, I did all the hard work, I worked and went to school full-time, both. I worked full-time and went to school full-time and made this huge sacrifice, and then for me to just be working construction. Sometimes I would get depressed, but then that's when I got out of that funk and say, if no one's really willing to open the door for me, then I have to open it myself. So I started working harder and harder until I saved enough money, and then I decided to do something for myself, and then started a small business, grew that, and then finally opened. And with the earnings of that, I decided to open up MexOut. So.
And you opened up Tropics too.
I did.
You're known as a serial entrepreneur. You'll try a couple things, right?
Yes. So the number one thing I can always ask people, I always tell people, don't give up on your dreams, whatever that may be. Just never give up. Work hard, and hard work does pay off.
It is all about hard work, though.
It is. Now a lot of people think it's easy because they see that I'm kind of young and that I have this fabulous life going, and that that they say that I travel a lot and all this stuff. But what they don't realize is all the hard work that I've put in. Ever since I've been 17, 18 years old, I've realized that I've worked most of my life 7 days a week up until I was 29 or 30, when I really stopped working on the weekends. But all those years I've worked 7 days a week. When I was in college, I had to work my way through school. So I had a part-time job in the morning, and then another part-time job in the evening, and then another part-time job in the weekends, just so I can keep afloat, pay my bills, pay rent and everything. And so even then I did construction, and it was still 6-7 days a week. And even when I used to work at the bank, it's an in-store bank, so it was still open 7 days a week.
Sure. And let's talk about the work ethic though, and the hard work. Did that mainly come from your dad and mom, and that kind of thought process? And Because a lot of people will attribute immigrants to this country usually have to bust it to break in anywhere they are.
Yeah, I think the work ethic, I think the entrepreneurial side of me comes part from my dad and part of my mom's side of the family, because all my uncles have taco shops in Mexico. So I think that's where I think that's where that really comes from, like the food. Like I think it runs in the blood, and so the work ethic comes from my mom, because she's a very, very hard worker. I tell her, Mom, take some days off. She'll go home and she can't be still, and then she'll just come back to check on people. So it's like, so we really do have a kind of like a harder worker ethic, because we know that I think a lot of people take America for granted because they get complacent into this type of lifestyle where like it's easy, but then a lot of people don't put themselves in the shoes of immigrant people, where they come from countries where they have nothing, where it's been at war, or most of their lives they've had really nothing to eat, and then they see that if they work hard, then they will get rewarded, something that they never were able to achieve in their country. So they see the opportunity here, they work hard, and then they start to come up. And then we have all these other people that say, well, they come here to take my jobs. Those jobs have always been here. It's just people get complacent and they get lazy, and they don't want to work hard. What they want to do is they just want, they want to live a simple life where they don't really want to work for anything. And even nowadays, some people think they're entitled to something. No one is really entitled to anything. I think that's what they call America. That's what they call the American dream, or the land of the free, because I really do believe that whatever you do in America, whatever you decide to do here in America, you can achieve. No one really stops you.
But you got to put the work in.
But you have to put the work in. That's like the number one thing.
I mean, let's be blunt. Tropics didn't last.
And I'll tell you why Tropics did. Yeah, Tropics did not last, and it was kind of it kind of broke my heart, because that was my first baby. I really put all my effort and all my dreams and like everything I had, all my thought, a lot of thought went into putting Tropics in, and it was a success up until other people saw that it was working, and then we started getting more competition. And okay, so part of the reason why Tropics is because Bowling Green is not really a big community. So I always like to put it like this: there's only a certain amount of people, or a group of people, that are gonna like smoothies or fresh fruit. Well, if you have if this small town only has a certain percentage of people that like that, and then you have 5 or 6 shops that open up, well, I was gonna have my loyal customers, and they're gonna have their loyal customers, and at the end of the day, you're really not making a lot of money, because it was a seasonal business. Because during the summer is when you make your money, and during December is when you have to actually put money out of your pocket so you can actually stay in business and keep it afloat.
Whereas MexOut,
whereas MexOut, it's a whole different thing. We've actually never even seen seasonal. It's always the same. Every day is constant. Every day we always keep the same amount of people. It's always the same type of traffic, versus like going from having 300 or 400 people a day on a smoothie place on a hot day to maybe getting 5 or 10 during the winter. So that does make up a lot of difference.
And when you were starting your business, what was the one thing you weren't expecting? Because we do have people who want to start businesses. What's the one thing that you think everybody needs to know that you just didn't know before starting?
I think the upfront cost is what a lot of people underestimate. I think I tried to do the best I could with finding out how much each equipment. Well, you have to find out what the equipment is going to cost, what your cost of goods is going to be, how much money you're going to spend up front for the fruit or whatever item you're going to be, because that is an upfront cost. That is your investment. But then on top of that, the construction is the part that we can never estimate. So that's why it's always good to try to find and get quotes, and try to find different contractors, because there will be out there. There are gonna be some out there that are gonna want to take advantage of you. But then you can always talk to some, and then you can probably do some of your work. Like painting's not really that hard, but that can save you a couple of dollars there. And if you don't have to do floors, don't do floors. Just keep it to the minimum, and then just get going. And like a lot of people say, fake it until you make it. You know, my front, whenever I opened up MexOut, everything seemed perfect up front, but in the kitchen there was a lot of stuff missing. And as I keep on growing and keep progressing, then I keep on buying things that are going to make it easier on my kitchen so they can have the better workflow. And so the hard work has now been done, and then that's how it's going to be with everybody. You're going to have to put in a lot of hard work at front, and then it's going to start flowing, and then you're going to be able to actually start making it easier for your employees. Because if you make it easier on your employees, then it becomes easier on the manpower. Now you might not need this person 5 or 6 hours anymore, and that's 5 or 6 hours that you're saving every day.
And where do you like to travel to? You said you like to travel. Where's your favorite spot right now?
I think I've always actually just been to Mexico, because Monterrey, Mexico is the second largest city in Mexico, and there is just there's a ton of things to do out there. I like to go to restaurants. I like to do a lot of cliff jumping. I like to go out to hiking, and so there's just a lot of trails. Monterrey is like I said, is the second biggest city in Mexico, so there's just plenty of things. And because cities in Mexico are very, very close, there's just a lot of people, and the good thing about it is, like, you drive 15 minutes outside the city, and then you're already in the mountains with waterfalls and cliff jumps and
so
just
Monterey.
Beautiful trail.
So
Monterey, Mexico. I always recommend everybody to go out there.
That's the new Destin, Florida for Bowling Green. Monterey, Mexico.
Yes,
we're all going down there.
It should be the new Destin, Florida.
Okay, you picked up some new vendors from down there, right?
I did. We were I don't know if a lot of you guys know, but most of our seasonings, and I think part of the success that we've had with MexOut has been our flavor. And everybody always tells us that it's because there's just something different about our food and the way it tastes. Well, part of that is because we do import I'm not going to say all, but most of our seasonings, we do import them from Mexico. And I think that's what gives it that different taste. That's what sets us apart than any other restaurant. I try to buy from the local market, so it really does come from Mexican local farms.
The spices
and even just like the oregano and just the hold on.
Yeah, but you also use local farmers here for some veggies, so you're kind of doing a mix of both. You're doing Mexican authentic, coming straight from that farm, but then, like, you have Mr. Wayne. We took his picture last year. You sometimes work with Ryan at Fatted Calf. Explain kind of how you try to balance both,
Well, I think a lot of things, what I try to do is try to keep as local as I can. Now I think a lot of restaurants hold on. Okay, so let me just start out by saying there's really no way. I'm gonna go ahead and bust this myth that everybody says when they say local. There is no way a business or a restaurant can be 100% local.
Sure.
And I want you guys to understand that.
Mangoes?
There's no local mangoes, okay? So I think I want to go ahead and
You're good.
I want to dismantle that myth.
But you try.
I think restaurants that say local, we want you guys to know that we try to be as local as we can, because it's really impossible for us to keep everything local. So I know that in my case, I try to keep as much stuff as I can here from Kentucky. We want to use Kentucky Proud Farmers Market, ingredients. Like maybe if this season we're getting ready to team up with Grant's Farms and see if we can get their lettuce from them and part of our tomatoes, just so we can continue that local
just the local connection.
I was gonna say local economy going, or
sure.
What's it called? What's the word I'm looking for?
Economy's right. Just keep the money back in the local economy.
Right, and then just and helping each other as a small business keeping each other alive and helping each other, because at the end of the day, you go to like these big retailers and they can give you a better pricing, but at the same time they're just putting in a lot of stuff, pesticides and all. You really have no idea what they're putting into their tomatoes or just their veggies or whatever it may be.
But that's what you've done. You've gone to Mexico and met your local guy there, your source there, and you try to meet the local guy.
Right,
here.
and so that's what I try to. I try to keep a balance. The stuff that gives it the taste and the authenticity to our Mexican food, I get that from Mexico, which is all the spices. And then like our veggies and our meats, we try to keep that as local as we can, because that's kind of impossible to do because of ADA regulations and things like that. And like I said, we want to be part of this Kentucky community. We want to be able to help grow Bowling Green, since this is our hometown.
Okay, and so here's a question. Everyone gets to ask a question. Maybe someone will answer. What do you want to know from people? What's kind of been on your mind about Bowling Green and Southern Kentucky? Do you want to know where cliffs are you can jump here locally?
I think, let me see.
I know, I put you on the spot.
I know, because I really...
And I'll tell people right now what you're thinking. MexOut's here. It's next to the subway. And that's the Walmart across. This is Veterans. You got a question now?
I do. I think I do want to know where some awesome hiking spots are in Kentucky, and also where some awesome good local food is. Some barbecue, some chicken and dumplings is my favorite American food, I think. And so I want to know who has the best chicken dumplings in Kentucky.
All right. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, guys.